So tell us a little bit more about what you do at Nexus Werx.
So Nexus Werx is a political consulting and political training company. So while I take on average political campaigns and consult with them on best practices, as well as working on projects for municipalities, getting bylaws passed and that sort of thing, my real passion is making sure that everyday people are able to access government and learn what I know, what it took me over 15 years in politics to learn, and be able to navigate the process and be effective in engaging with their government.
Well, that's excellent work. So tell us what you know.
Yes. So I got started because I worked in the political sphere for about 15 years. And when I worked in the Massachusetts legislature, as well as when I worked for a member of Congress, I kept seeing lobbyists be successful. And then I would see organizations such as nonprofits, civic groups, grassroots groups, trying to navigate the process, but stumbling along the way because nobody teaches activism. Nobody teaches civic engagement beyond the nuts and bolts of how things work in our school systems. Mm-hmm. So I felt that somebody ought to be teaching people how to do this. If they're not in the position that they can afford a lobbyist, and many people aren't in that position. So my main focus when I founded my business about a year and a half ago was to make sure that particularly those nonprofits would be able to advocate for an earmark in the budget, or to oppose a regulation successfully that was going to negatively impact their organization, or if need be, pass a bill, but understand how to get initial support, who to target as far as that support goes, how to get co-sponsors, and how to really navigate the sort of soft skills of the side of politics, as well as understanding the mechanics of it.
I guess it's a little bit more complicated than going out and carrying a sign and in a protest march somewhere.
Yeah, and signs are actually one of the least effective ways to be effective, particularly in political campaigns. One of the things that you say when you're trying to persuade people is you're trying to deliver a message, and ideally you're trying to find out if that message was persuading people. So when you're going out as a candidate and if you knock on doors and you have a conversation face to face with someone, or you speak to them over the phone, that way you're able to deliver your message and you're able to get feedback from them on whether or not they are now going to support you, and then you know whether or not to call them before the election, say, hey, just a reminder, the election's coming up. Will you please show up and vote? So these sort of mechanics of how effective persuasion works is something that I've incorporated throughout my trainings. And those run the gambit from Learn to Lobby, Lobbying 101, to Political Campaigning 101. And now, since the election, there's just been this explosion of activism popping up all around the country, but not necessarily effective activism. So I have started an e-learning product of Effective Activism 101, and it's meant to teach everyday activists who maybe only have a few minutes a day or a week to engage with their elected officials, but I want to make sure they're engaging with the right people and in the right ways, so that they're going to be effective and not spinning their wheels, and that they're going to have successes and stay engaged rather than feeling that their voices aren't heard and that they should disengage.